Dr. Sebastian Gorka joins us on the line. Dr. Gorka, thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Good morning, Raheem. I've got a day job, but thank you very much for the vote of confidence.
That's okay. You know, James Comey showed us that you can basically get this job done in between committee hearings. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about it. Do it in the evenings. Dr. Gorka, on that topic, of course, I'm jesting. I'd like to get your view on why this took place so suddenly yesterday. What do you think was the impetus behind this move by your boss?
It's just a function of the way the president functions. So he's incredibly decisive, and he wanted to send a message. And the recent testimony of the director just added that last straw to the camel's back and proved that he's unfit to serve and that he's lost the confidence not only of the president, but of the agents that serve under him. Before I came into the White House, I spent many years training, educating FBI agents, so I have lots of connections with them. And when they tell you from one of the field offices that when the director gave that infamous press conference, where for 13 minutes he built the watertight case for the prosecution of Hillary Clinton, and then in the last minute punted and said, no, I decided not to recommend prosecution. When half of the agents in that field office stood up, as I was told by a reliable source, put on their jackets and left the office for the next 4 days, then you know your situation is untenable. You've lost the institution, Raheem.
He's President Trump being very mean to James Comey on Twitter this morning. Some very pointed words, very pointed accusations, retweeting a Drudge report about the 10 largest failures under James Comey at the FBI. Do you think it is smart to get into a war of words with somebody who will be testifying in front of committees, probably for the foreseeable future, who will become a face on the national media, who will write his memoirs now about his time there and his experiences with the new president, albeit they short? Is it wise to get into a spat with somebody like that who could turn around and say, yeah, well, you know, you only got elected because of Vladimir Putin?
As I've said before, I am a lowly deputy assistant. I am not going to give Donald J. Trump advice on strategic communication. Remember, on the day of the election, the Huffington Post said Hillary Clinton has a 98% chance of victory. Mm-hmm. The New York Times said Hillary Clinton is going to win. I don't think anybody has anything to teach the president about communications, what to tweet, what to say in a press conference. He's broken the whole mode of strategic communications, and he's done so despite the old ways of doing business. So no, I think he's pretty secure in what he does, and he will weather any consequences admirably.
Just finally on this topic of the now former FBI director James Comey, what do you say to people like Chris Matthews, people like Joe Scarborough, people like Chuck Schumer, John Podesta, Robbie Mook? I know several words are coming to your head already, Dr. Gorka, but what do you say to them when they imply that there is a, I'm quoting Chris Matthews here, whiff of fascism about this decision yesterday?
I think they should go and live in a real fascist state like Venezuela. Go there for a few weeks and check that out. It's an insult to people like my parents who lived under fascism and then under communism. It's just outrageous, absolutely outrageous. This is a man who, in every speech he's given since January the 20th, has made it patently obvious that he is a president for all Americans, whether or not you voted for him. What he's doing with regards to national security, the economy, revitalizing our international relations. They're not partisan political. They're really about the bumper sticker that was the election campaign's platform, MAGA, Make America Great Again. If you see any whiff of anything totalitarian or fascist in that, you need to look in the mirror yourself first and look at how fascist your tendencies may be.
Absolutely, and I was reminded this morning of this Ronald Reagan quote where he was one of his speeches was being protested against at a university, I think it was, and he said, just have a little bit of a think. If you got the sort of government you want, he was saying to the protesters, then you would never be able to do what you're doing right now ever again. And that's that, I think I just saw that scrolling through my Facebook feed as I woke up at 3:30 this morning, so I thought I'd share that with you, Dr. Gorka. Okay, look, back to what we wanted to have you on originally for. We were all taken aback by this announcement yesterday, so it's wrong-footed us a little bit, but we really wanted to get into it with you on this this talk of a troop deployment, a U.S. troop deployment to Afghanistan. There are, correct me if I'm wrong, around 8,000 troops there as part of a 13,000 NATO force at the moment anyway, but there is talk of a further, I think, 3,000 or so. Just tell us for a start, because I don't think this is getting enough coverage, enough attention at the moment. There is the talk of deadlock in the country, and that seems to be the rationale behind sending these troops, breaking the deadlock, ensuring that, what is an allied government does not fall to Islamists and jihadists. Tell us a little bit more about this deadlock and how this troop deployment will help.
Yeah, it's important to start with the recent speeches and testimony of the field commanders. So the theater commander, General Mick Nicholson, is an amazing soldier, true professional, and he's been very clear about how more powerful, how resurgent the jihadist forces, the Taliban, have become in recent months, and also the really untold story of the last administration is how Al-Qaeda has retrenched itself in Afghanistan. And beyond that, and this is, anybody can Google this, listeners should just go out there and Google this. There are local commanders in Afghanistan, not in the Middle East, in Afghanistan, that have publicly sworn bayat, sworn the oath of allegiance to Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the so-called putative new caliph of the Islamic State. There is video, you can go and see it, it's on PBS, of ISIS schools being run in Afghanistan to educate young children into the life of the jihadis. So, there is a serious problem that was in part facilitated by the vacuum created by the so-called leading from behind mantra of the Obama administration, and we have to deal with it. But, and I have to be, very clear on this, President Trump is not a neoconservative interventionist. He is not interested in invading other people's countries or occupying them. He said this again and again and again on the campaign trail and also since January the 20th. What we are doing is sending troops where they are needed to secure Americans from attack here in the homeland. And that's why Afghanistan is important, Raheem.
Is this also important as effectively shoring up a pretty serious forward operating base for other things in the region?
Absolutely. So if you look at America's unique capacity, as one French scholar said it, we really are a hyperpower. We're not just a superpower. If you look at the world on fire that we inherited, whether it's Central Asia, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's Asia, whether it's Europe, there's just instability wherever you turn. And as such, our expeditionary capabilities should be as close as possible, within reason, to potential hotbeds of terrorist recruitment or other threats to the nation. So yes, you can't sit at home and wait until the threat has metastasized to such a level that it is now an imminent threat. So Afghanistan and other parts of the world do play a twin role of not just dealing with the threat there, but providing a presence for when another threat may evolve to be able to respond as quickly as possible.
Is this General McMaster's war?
No, I know General McMaster. I've known him for years. The idea that he wants to own a war and put his name on it is absurd. He is the quintessential professional. And as a national security advisor, he provides the president with options. And it is the commander-in-chief it is President Trump who takes those options. So, no, he's the consummate professional, and he's just looking at the threat analysis and giving a palette of possible courses of action to the commander-in-chief to choose from. And remember, the White House has been clear. We haven't taken any final decision with regards to exactly what is going to happen in Afghanistan, not yet.
We're speaking with Dr. Sebastian Gorka, Deputy Assistant to the President of the United States. Dr. Gorka, you've gone to lengths to explain to the audience how the President is not a neoconservative, does not want to, invade countries and nation build like some of his predecessors. And I suppose you preempted some of my tougher questions that I was going to ask there. But there are Bush-era appointees in this government, and people are concerned, and they were concerned, and I was concerned. I remember the last time we spoke on air about the Syria strike. They're concerned about troop deployments in places like Afghanistan. Suddenly hairs on their arms start to stand up on end as we fear getting involved again. And the things that they want to know are, is this just a war that these people have rehearsed? They're going to come back again with flags on coffins and say we won. Is there going to be any congressional approval here? How long will it take? What are the projections of how much it will cost? What does success look like? Will the American public be told all these things this time? If President Trump really is doing it differently, will we get that information in advance?
To those people, and I really, you can rest easy. I ask you to look at who this man is and what he's done in the last 50 years. This isn't an establishment politician. He wasn't even a politician before he became the most powerful man in the world. So as such, what was he? He was an incredibly successful businessman who built an empire. And you can't do that unless you do two things. Delegate to people who know what they're doing and have very, very concrete metrics of success. It's not about waffle. It's not about boilerplate. It's not about endless wars. And I can assure you, because this is what I saw the first time I ever met Mr. Trump in 2015, long before he became President Trump. This is a man who is very serious, very decisive, and he wants to see results. And if he doesn't see results, he will take another course of action, and you may lose your job. So, this is a serious individual who understands his primary responsibility as the office holder in the White House.
Is that a no, that we won't hear of length of engagement, of projections, of success, of cost?
The opposite. All you will hear is concrete discussion of what we wish to achieve, how we wish to achieve it, how long it's going to take, and most important of all, the thing that we've so negated in the last 16 years, what are the signs that we know it's working? Because in private sector business, you must have those, and those key performance indicators are going to be injected into the U.S. government in ways that they've never been done before.
Just finally, before I let you go, Dr. Gorka, what does success look like? Does it look like another 5-year deferral of this country once again falling to the Taliban? Do we have to be realistic about this, that actually to make Afghanistan a safe operating area for NATO, to make it a safe country, to keep an allied government there, that there will be no time in our lifetimes where there will be zero Western troops in Afghanistan?
I love how you asked the most important question, Raheem. Two things, very simply. We will know when we will have won, when that nation and its territory will never be used, cannot be used, to mastermind mass casualty attacks against U.S. citizens here in America, in Manhattan, in Washington, in Pennsylvania, or anywhere else. And lastly, let's go beyond Afghanistan, when the black flag of jihad is as repugnant and rejected around the world as the swastika of the Third Reich, and people do not wish to become jihadis, then we will have won.
Robust stuff. Dr. Sebastian Gorka, thank you again for taking the time out to join us here on Breitbart News Daily.
My pleasure. Anytime, Raheem, and all the best to the listeners out there.